Hello everyone, wherever you are. This is our final BE MOOC presentation. It's about the successes in BE policies and practices. An invitation was sent to the UIA Architecture and Children Work Program to attend a roundtable discussion and try to answer 4 main questions revolving around the existing BE policies in most parts of the world and the need for more policies, also the existing practices in different countries and the need for more BE practices. In the beginning, I was planning to divide the meeting record into those 4 topics, and then in the end I decided to put it as is because the conversation was so smooth and the topics were connected and some topics were joined. Watch with me.
There is a gap between the words and the do's. So there are many people saying that this is a very important part, especially for the development of climate and soil use and all these topics, which I think everybody of us knows. But we have just new curricula in they are in a stage of commending. So and when we look through this new curricula, architecture and built environment can really not be found with these words, but there are a lot of aspects who deal with this topic. But I think to implement it in school, it's the best way to teach teachers because they really don't feel familiar with built environment education. And I think there is no development during the last years. So
we train still teachers in architectural education at Bauhaus University. You all know about it. And there is a new kind of support. For example, other institutions like Classic Foundation, Weimar, and others start now also to train teachers. I took part 2 weeks ago on such a meeting, and it was nice. It was a mix of art, architectural, town planning. It was very interesting, and they showed us new ideas to teach children in this subject. And so we can see the theme built environment education goes a little bit more in the not only in schools, it's also in other organizations and institutions.
I can see some potentials despite the fact that built environment education is not taught in schools before university, and it's not a training for architectural students, yet there is a growing enthusiasm and eagerness about built environment education both on school level and university level. University level has a potential because of the connection between pedagogues and practicing architects here now in Egypt. It's the networking is at its best, and it's the positive envy of making things like connection between the research and between the CSR, corporate social responsibility in the universities and elective courses of architectural education. So there is a potential of a growing interest.
Society is more and more eager to step towards a new kind of education. And I should say that this is a key point in protest in Hungary. So as a positive thing, there is this enthusiasm to go for a better. On the other hand, there are more and more teachers who are aware of the importance of project-based education, a new type of education, and built environment education is among that. As a background, it is mentioned in the new national curriculum. So it is in the forefront of thinking.
At the same time, Brazil is a very big country, continental country, and there are lots of initiatives of teachers in primary schools and secondary schools, public sector mainly, that do a lot of work, mainly teachers from geography courses and arts that are integrated with the discussion of the built environment. Also in many universities from the south, the center and the northeast of Brazil, there are groups of study that work with the idea of the pedagogic experience related to the city. So this is, and it has already been included as a public policy in the Ministry of Education. Now the Institute of Architects of Brazil, with a cooperation with Bernard Van Leeuw Foundation, is supporting a course for architects in built environment education for children, and also support the development of the municipal plans for early childhood in 20 municipalities of the country, including all the strategies of transforming the public space to receive better and more inclusive way the children. In São Paulo, one small city has already a council of children to make decisions about the public spaces and the projects of the municipality.
There are actions. They are not systematically recurrent, but there are efforts from National Education Ministry to open primary and secondary pupils and students, and to let them acquire a bit of awareness of bird education environment. It's not enough.
The Swedish government decided that the UN rights of the child should be law in Sweden, and that puts consequences to a lot of things and a lot of other laws and so on. And we are a network within the Swedish Association of Architects that work, and we have arranged 2 or 3 network meetings where we have been discussing how can we develop the planning process so the children can participate in the planning process. We also work to have education for architects, so they learn about the pedagogy, so how architects can participate in a professional way in a teaching situation in school.
Do you see any policies arising in housing, in climate change, in energy policies and so on that somehow contribute to the work we're doing.
Egypt is hosting the COP27, the climate summit, this November from 6 to 18. And as we are hosting the world, so all of the ministries and the government are working hand in hand to disseminate something about the climate change and the response to climate. So every ministry is doing something related to its policy, related to raising awareness, related to projects, related to events, related to everything to be put on the table as achievements of Egypt in the topic of climate action.
In context, it's been pushed so tremendously that the question of affordable housing, especially in the bigger cities, it's not so much a small town, a regional topic. It's a lot comes with our major cities, which are much smaller than the global South cities. But the question about discussing what do you need for housing, what is the standard of housing, how does work and housing and learning in the future should look like, how do we design new neighborhoods, where do we implement them in a small country like ours, with strong participation movements. So we have the NIMBYism right there.
So what I see here, which is quite interesting and important, a growing need for dialogue, and there are bottom-up procedures. So the fact that people were not listened centrally and they couldn't push through the ideas through the institutions. There are more and more civil activities and civil organizations, and talk between different professions is now, I wouldn't say fashionable, but I think it's really happening.
Policies. Can we practice something and make it viral and vibrant without the need of a guiding policy that is approved and announced and supported by the educational bodies, the governmental or the formal educational bodies?
Here in Tunisia, civil society is very active, and associations do a lot of things that transform some territories even without having a vision or a national vision or a strategy about that.
Youth participation is very much done in many places, not single places, but it got its push from simply having it in our building law that participation of the public has to happen in building design and construction, and young people have to be participated. Where's the limits of us being in practice and not having any policy support?
I remember when you, Heba, made your lecture in Helsinki, when you described what you had been doing in Egypt, and you compared it to the the 17
Goals.
climate goals,
Yeah.
and you pointed out what goals you had, and I think you had something from all of the goals in my memory. And we also have the UN right of the child, where we also can point out, I think it's about 7 of the paragraphs that are really important for us. And since when I've been writing papers and we have lectures about the UN right of the child, we here in Sweden we push the 17 goals and the UN right of the child, and we try to explain how we kind of follow those universal recommendations. And the benefit is that all people who work with the Green Building Challenge and so on can understand that we can help them when they work with the built environment, because we are relating to those goals, and also those who are working with the right of the child also they can understand that we have something that can help
I
them.
want to say that we can do build environment education in school and beside school without any kind of policy. But I think if we have some policy or some political commitment, I would say, some political commitment, then we could get also financial resources. And without that, we are working a lot on a honorary basis, but to have really force and to do this with power, we need some money, and we can get some money if there is a political commitment to the topic.
I agree. I think we need public policy. But for instance, in Brazil, all the schools have to prepare their PPPs. It's the pedagogical political plan. So this is already something that's established. So if the public policy includes in the terms of the political pedagogical plan, the intersection with the public spaces and the built environment education, this would be a way to reinforce the promotion. It is done anyway. It can be done anyway separately, but it should include in terms of public policy to support and also to allow the inclusion of the budget of the municipality, of the public budget, to include investment for that. What I believe is that the public policies should integrate civil society, private organizations, public organizations, foundations, community, around the goal to develop these actions and projects and transformations.
I think that what we do, for example, is also important, because first of all, we have to tell people and emphasize the importance of our activity. It means that we have to enhance visibility of this activity. By doing that, we can motivate more people to be part. And how we can do it? I find two ways. First of all, we can honor or enhance the prestige of those who do environmental education. And we have to find better ways to communicate why it's so important. And also we can integrate what we do to the general theme of sustainability as a sustainable society. It is also in a way to emphasize that this is not an activity as a cultural extra activity, but this is to understand that where we live, how we participate in our environment is a central issue connected to not only well-being, but to the democratic use of our society, and also a possibility to better share the space that we have, because with a growing population, we have to figure out better solutions, how to communicate, how to share this planet. And I think that we should, I think that would motivate people to understand that they participate on a more general and very important issue.
Yes, I was wondering, what do you think in your own context would be needed for practice to reach a newer, like a higher step? And last but not least, also maybe there's also need of a policy, but maybe it's something else that's been needed.
We really have a need for making the map about all the scientific research and centers where we have education and we have PhD education, and where we have scientific seminars about this, because all those wonderful practice that you do all over the world, we have to collect and type them.
We have to be close to people, and we have to work from the bottom to the up. And I think educate our future architecture to open mindset, to hear others, to interact and put their own vision on service of people needs and territories needs is important.
I think built environment education should react to the crisis we are facing all. Of course, in difficult countries, built environment education was always something dealing with really difficult problems, while in richest country, it was something an extra in the eye of many others. So it's a kind of cultural extra we are offering to our kids. Well, now we are facing an important crisis, and I hope the war will end soon, but the type of crisis we are meeting is more general. And the problem is that we have, well, one small word. This is the whole environmental issue telling us. So I think we should focus also on our common issues, because of course there are local problems, but to find, and I think our organization it's a nice tool to discuss and find all those issues that should be really pushed hard as a reaction to the fact that we are living on a small world. And I repeat myself, I'm sorry, that we find better possibilities to share and a more responsible sharing of that earth. And I think this could be a little bit pushed forward and put in the front of our activity, because this is something everyone would more easily understand.
We have it all. We have the policy, we have the education of teachers, we have the universities, not all, but we have some universities to do this job. But finally, we have not all schools, we have not all teachers. The task for all of us is to find active people around the architects, around the teachers, and this is all over the world the same problem, I think, because to have the policy, to have, for example, we have the curricula of all federal countries. Each curricula shows us architecture and environment, but not all schools do it, not all teachers are trained in this direction, and that's why for us it's a permanent task to push them, to make it interesting for them, to find the pupils and the students to be interested in this way, and so on. We have all together the same task. The key for all of this is active people, finally. Voluntary people and professional people, of course. Thank you.
I totally agree with you. Yes, we need active people. And we need a lot of teachers that do this, but we need very diverse people teaching architecture education and doing built environment education. Then we all know, even a highly developed educational system like we have in Germany, school is not the best place for every child to be learning. School is also a contested space, and a lot of my colleagues who know me know that I'm not getting tired saying that I truly believe there are many places and many occasions and many settings and programs outside of school where a lot of the much better even architecture education or built environment education is happening. So therefore, yes, we need active people, we need active participants, and we need a diverse group of people engaging in that, because the built environment is not only done by architects or planners or teachers. There are a lot more groups like craftsmen, like people that work on heritage, museum pedagogues, and so on. We could keep on like adding other professions and people we know that are engaged in built environment education and do a great job doing it.
Or several words have been mentioned about the word participation, and participation is a term equal to the concept of democracy, and this is not a concept that is believed in everywhere in the world, and that's why we are a little behind, I believe, in built environment education and in cultural practices and in the development of the educational process in general. In my country, in a nation of around 110 millions of people, with 60% below 18 years of age, the need for policies of built environment education in school is not a luxury, because we are facing in our like the past 50 years, we will still believe in the bottom up, and we will always work bottom up. But if I am dreaming of built environment education in school, it will not happen to the 60 million plus below 18 years of age unless it's dictated from above.
I just wanted to agree on the top down, because I mean, any country, you have to have a top down order or policy, and then the bottom up can be something that develops. So I think we should have an analysis of bottom up and top down, when it works and how you should use it in policies.
There should be a relation between the two. Otherwise, well, we are individuals having individual ways, and we have to have a system, a logic in the function of our societies.
I think it becomes clear the situation are very different in throughout the world. The needs are different. The needs for policies are different. Even within our group, we still kind of like have a very productive, but I like that we are kind of like you see the nuances, and I hope the students see the nuances between what's possible, what we think, that we're still also searching for the right way, that we have ideas. And yeah, it's a field developing, and for sure we need more policies. I'm also thinking that more policies do help in many situations to foster built environment education.
So, what do you think? Hope the presentation and the video were resourceful, were inspiring, and will be useful for you. Thank you.